Okay, see, that's how it was supposed to work. I made a snap trap with a mouse trap that snapped a little toy cap, from a toy gun to make a loud snapping noise to scare cats out of the garden. We were having trouble with feral cats and other critters being in the yard, and after one too many trips to the vet, getting in fights with our cats, I decided I would try something different, like maybe try to reprogram the cats' minds the way that people put crinkly foil or sticky tape on their kitchen counters to dissuade the cats from jumping up on the counter. And then even when the tape and the foil is gone, the cat still associates that scary thing with the counter and avoids it. There's me with the first iteration. It was just a little tripwire, but they learned quickly to step over that. And yep, he got caught. But the problem was that the hardware wasn't consistent. There's a hummingbird. He's not going to set it off. Oh, there's Maria. She thinks she's so clever. I didn't see this footage until later that evening. I was like, oh, wow. Anyway, the problem was that the hardware wasn't consistent. Sometimes it would snap and sometimes it didn't, and so the cats didn't really learn the lesson properly. And also, there are so many noises and scary things in their nighttime environment anyway that they just sort of factored it in as one more thing to be wary of and to be cautious around. It's not like they were going to avoid the garden. Here comes the possum just sort of blundering by, and he gets away with it, no problem. And then he's coming back, and I think he gets away with it again. Yeah. So I couldn't quite get the thing to work consistently every time. Look, a whole blundering pack of raccoons. Just didn't manage to trip it. But here he is coming back the other way, and snap. Now interesting, look at his reaction. He's sort of like doesn't know which way to go. It kind of freaks out. It's almost like the possum's brains are just a little slower than other animals. There, see, he pauses and freezes before he runs away. But he has learned to avoid the wood, and now he's actually climbing up and around. There's a rock wall he has to climb up and over. He'll go to great lengths to avoid that now that he's associated it. He's going all the way around the garden. So it didn't really work the way I planned it, because I thought I would sort of like create an environment where they were scared. There it just snaps on its own for no reason. And here just a few photons from the flashlight managed to, just a few little photons managed to trigger it. The birds didn't seem to trigger it. I left it out during the day and the birds didn't manage to do it, although they were flirting with disaster. This isn't really something I do anymore. I've since gotten to know all the little critters and the cats that come into the garden. Oh, little sparrow, you are really asking for it. But I was trying something new to see if maybe that would work, just sort of a feline psychology experiment. Wow, that sparrow is really getting away with. And then sometimes just the sunlight would dry out the wood enough and it would snap on its own, and sometimes just the wind. So I tried a different thing with a tripwire, crossing the hole in the garden gate, and this is duck l'orange. Since then, I've got to know all these cats and the critters and the possums, and they're really not so bad. They just, they want to explore. They have their routine. They have their territory. So again, it's not something I would do again, but look how carefully he's inspecting. He can tell that something's different. I mean, there's a tripod and a camera, and there's a light, and that's all different. So he's being very wary, and there's the snap trap on the right. It's the mouse trap with a cap that's loaded. I wouldn't do that again because he's going to, there you see he triggered it. Because I don't want anyone to sniff that or brush up against it and get caught with the mouse trap. There's the possum. They always do that thing where they kind of like blunder back and forth and they don't really know where to go. And here's duck l'orange again, being very careful. You can see I put a log there, so that nobody touches the mousetrap itself. Here the possum just got up to it. See, they do that little thing where they kind of freak out. They go left, they go right, they freeze. You can see it. It's sort of the precursor of a possum playing dead. Now here, this guy's just going to go right through. They can tell something's up, but they're not going to be dissuaded from their appointed rounds. This one is the one that was getting in fights. Look at the balls on that guy. That's an unfixed tomcat, and he manages to walk right on through. I think he was the one that was really getting in fights with our cats. So since then, I've become feeling much more tender about the poor little possums out there and the raccoons and skunks, and we have a few regular cats and then some unusual ones show up. And I put the wildlife camera out at night to see who's who out there in the little wildlife corridor. And I just try to live and let live now and keep our cats in at night. Make sure they come in at twilight when it's possum o'clock, or at the very latest possum 30. And in the morning I go out to make sure there's no one in the yard from the night before, so that our cats can't get into a fight. And there seems to be a night shift and a day shift, and that works out pretty well. Oh, you can see the cat in the distance on the right is scent marking, and that was driving our cats crazy. They could tell that other cats were coming into their territory. But I think live and let live, and just kind of try to keep them separate, the night shift and the day shift. I mean, look at that beautiful glowing night lion. That's duck l'orange. In the infrared, it looks white.